Welcome to the Oddbird Suite, everyone. My name is Trent Wilkie. On the trumpet, Eric Weedham. On tech, we have Curtis Jacobs. I would like to thank Nico Arnaz, Stephanie Urquhart, Peter Zosky. It's going to be a great night, like my grandmother said to my grandfather. Let's do it. Oh. And now a reading from the children's version of Moby Dick, as told by people who write children's versions of adult stories. And Queequeg did say to Ishmael, "Dude, we're gonna need a bigger boat." And Ishmael did say, "Yes, Queequeg, we are." And they did go out to the ocean. And they did become very good friends. And that's where you find a good ship built out of friendship. Shipmates, have ye shipped in that ship? Have ye shipped that ship? Is it a shipping ship full of shipping ships? I ship you not. The gulls did go, and they aren't actual seagulls, they're herring gulls. And FYI, there's no such thing as a seagull. FYI. And Ishmael said, "Captain, they're like jackets. Better to sail with a moody good captain than a laughing bad one, because then everybody's just gonna get diarrhea. And the waves rolled by like scrolls of silver. And the men on the boat said, hey, they look like scrolls of silver. And the scrolls of silver looked like waves, and the waves waved, and the men waved, and everything just got a little weird. And then everybody realized they were super duper seasick. School of fish? Why not talk about an alewife, a flying fish, a shad, a school of herring? If you are a really big white whale, bite here, said the hook. An anchor, an anchor, an uncle core, a core of uncles, a coral seagull of a coral reef, and the harpoons did harp, and the fish did wail, and the whale did say that. Eric, I'm gonna need a new face because you're melting this one off. This is a true story. Many moons ago, there was people calling other people saying that they were the Canadian Revenue Agency. And they would call you and tell you that, ooh, you have broken the law. And you need to call us back immediately at this number, or by George, we're gonna get the cops on your butt. Now, I'm not an overly smart person, but I can smell a fart in a car, and that CRA scam was a fart in a car, I can tell you that much. So I decided one of three things. I'm bored. The other two things had something to do with I ate some bad pizza and that it was a Thursday night. But they don't really make sense to the story I'm telling right now. So what I did was I called the number back. And the person on the other side of the phone said to me, oh yeah, you're in big trouble. You didn't file your taxes. We're calling the cops. We're calling the RCMP. We're calling God. And I said, oh, I didn't mean to phone. I didn't mean to. I knew I meant to do my taxes. I'm just so sorry. Please don't call the cops. And then I said, whoa, 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 whoa. This is about my taxes? And they said, yeah, that's why we're calling the cops. It was about your taxes. And I said, oh, I thought you were calling the cops about something else. And they said, no, it was about your taxes. And I thought you were calling the cops because of all the bodies I buried in the woods. And then the person on the other side of the phone got a little confused. And I said, because I've been burying bodies all over Edmonton. And I thought you were going to catch me for that. And I just feel so happy that this is just about my taxes. And then I went into great detail about where I hid the bodies and how many bodies they were and what I did to them. And well, the person on the other side of the phone got very frightened and they hung up. They hung up so fast that it was in mid-sentence, and I was like, by golly, that's pretty rude. So I called them back and I said, hey, I wasn't done. I buried a body here, I buried a body there. Now I know that the poor person was just trying to scam me out of thousands of dollars, and hey, people gotta make a buck. But I wasn't gonna let him off the hook so easy. And I went into great detail again about the bodies and how I felt that there were demons in me, and I was just so thankful that this was just my taxes. I could go on killing. And I asked him his name, and I wanted to write poems about him, and I thought that him and I could run through the woods together and wear big, beautiful blue dresses and skip through apple orchards. And he hung up again. But I'm a difficult person sometimes to get along with, so I called him right back. And I sang the whole solo to Freebird until they hung up again. And then I called back, and I called back, and I called back. And by golly, if I didn't get those CRA scammers to block me, the moral of the story? I don't know if there is a moral to the story. I guess it's don't take crap from fools. I guess if it's you can smell a fart in a car, then have fun with the fart. And if that doesn't make sense, then nothing does. Because there's people out there trying to make a buck. And when they try to make a buck, they're going to try to take advantage of it. And I think that that's time when you get to have some fun and wreck some minds. Isn't that right, Eric? Wrecking some minds? And that is a true story. Everybody. I'm turning 45. I think it's a nice number. I like to turn 45, but I'm only gonna do it once. What? I'm only gonna do it once? I turned 16 3 times. I turned 19 twice. But I'm only gonna turn 45 once, so I'm gonna have a great big barbecue. I'm gonna invite all my friends, and they are gonna invite all their friends, and there's gonna be a lot of people there. We're gonna eat a lot of barbecue. We're gonna have different types of meats. But Gary from marketing, I specifically said Gary's not allowed to come. And if Gary shows up, the party's over. Nobody's getting my lucky deer meat. Do you guys get it? Nobody's getting anything. Not the cheesies. I made a really good guac that nobody's getting. Nobody's allowed to see my collages in the basement. You only turned 45 once. I'm gonna have a backyard party. I got a really nice brick barbecue. I made it myself. Brick on brick. I laid big brick on brick. So, everything started really fun. But then, guess who showed up? Not only that guy from accounting, but he brought all his friends, his roller hockey friends. People still do that. I didn't even know they made those pucks still with the bearings in them. I almost said that the party's off. I almost put out the fire. But there was too many people in my backyard. Plus, my neighbors didn't complain. They haven't complained yet. So, I brought out the homemade sangria, which I'm not allowed to have. I know. That's a brown note if I ever heard one. It was made in my house. It's called homemade sangria. Then everything started to get really weird. Maybe the guac was bad, maybe the sangria was bad, maybe the meat was bad, maybe the things I ate was bad, but I felt like everything was changing color around me and I didn't know what's happening, and I started to fall down and I started to get up. more people started to show up. People I didn't know, I didn't even know that I knew. And they had big beards and long staffs, and they started pulling roots out and making potions. And I swear to God, I saw a portal. Somebody opened a portal in my backyard. And I said, who opened the portal? Someone here is going to tell my wife about the portal, because I was told no portals, no deer meat, no sangrias, the home guac. That was it. Don't turn 45. ghost stories. I used to live in the woods. I'm not kidding. I used to live in the woods. I was a wilderness guide. I was paid money to live in the woods. And at nights, it would get a little creepy. Not really creepy, but really, really, really creepy. Now, as people who lived in the woods, living in the woods, people would come from all over the world, and we would take them out on canoe trips. We would take them on winter camping trips. We would take them all over northern Ontario. We would take them all over the place. We would take them everywhere where there were trees and wilderness. We would take them everywhere where there wasn't people. And it was fun, and they would pay us a lot of money for that. But when the guides got together, we would tell each other stories about old cabins and old things and weird things. I found a sword in the woods once. It was an old, gosh, I don't even know. It was just metal, but it was a bayonet. I think it was like a World War I rifle bayonet. What is that doing in the Ontario woods? I don't know. But it was real. I gave it to my dad. Anywho. We would go into the woods, and when the guides got together, we would tell each other stories about the things we found. One of the stories I was told was about an old cabin where they found a man in it who had been, oh gosh, he had passed away probably many, many years ago. But they found his face leaning against the window, and they found him there. And they didn't know what it was, but they had nailed things all through the inside of his cabin. And when we called the helicopter came in and they took out the corpse, and the helicopter guy said, "That's the scientific term, by the way, helicopter guy. Don't worry, I got it covered." The paramedic who came with the EMS said that the guy had been nailing fried eggs to the inside of his cabin. Cabin fever is a weird thing. Living in the woods is a weird thing, especially when you do it a lot, especially when you do it on purpose. Now, I have my own story about the woods, and my story starts with something that sounded like a Tyrannosaurus Rex. I was in the wood with a journalist from the UK. This was 20 years ago. She was doing a story on the company that take people into the woods. And we went into the woods, and it was just her and I, because she wanted to do a very personal story. So I took her to all the hot spots. She wanted to see a moose. We never saw a moose. We just saw lightning and rain and thunder, and it was gorgeous. But at night, we heard something, well, something that I never heard before. And I just remember walking out into the trees. I would walk out into the trees because she was so scared that her scared needed a cape. She was super scared. And I walked out into the woods to find whatever the sound was. And I kept walking. And walking, and walking. And then I remembered, I gave her my bear spray. Guess who's got a thumb's a dumb idiot? This guy. But the sound was, I don't know, I've never heard it before. It was like a child lost in the woods that didn't know what the woods were, but it woke up in the woods, and it was very, very scared, and it didn't know what to do, so all it did was scream, and it had screamed so much that it didn't have vocal cords anymore, yet it just screamed through what was left of its shredded vocal cords, and I couldn't stop walking towards the sound, and the sound was getting louder, so I knew I was getting closer to it. And as I was getting closer to it, I saw marks on the trees, like, not claw marks, but like rub marks. Like something was just having a go. Something was taking out something on the trees. And I just couldn't stop myself. I'm not a fast person. I'm not a very good sprinter. But I know how to live outside. But that's what I was telling myself. And that, to quote Plato, was stupid. But I kept walking anyway. I needed to see what the sound was. And then I found it. It was about the size of a Harley Davidson, like a big Harley Davidson. And as I came upon it, it turned and it looked at me. Now this animal is something that when people have tried to describe what it sounds like, they said it sounds like a child screaming in the woods so much that it has shredded its vocal cords. And what it was a lynx. And it was caught in a trap. And it was chewing its own leg off to get out of the trap. Now, I didn't know what to do at the time. But when it looked at me, I felt terror. I was so scared. And then I remember a story my friend told me about his dog. He had this great big dog. It was super big. It was really, really big. And sometime he came home and he found the dog in the top of his car. And it pooped and peed on top of the car. And then he heard something in the woods. And it was a lynx. This great big dog heard the lynx in the woods and climbed up on the car and pooped and peed out of fear. They call it fear pooping. People have done it before. But all I could do was look at this lynx. And then it chewed through its leg. And it turned on me. And I ran. I ran so fast and so hard that I puked. And when I got back to the tent, I said to the journalist that it was nothing. Because I didn't want to scare her. I didn't want her to feel what I was feeling. And this isn't a machismo thing. This is about two people at night running through the woods in fear. Someone's gonna get hurt bad. So I moved our tents to the beach. I put our canoe up around us. I put our food bag out very far away. And I waited up all night for the lynx to come. I didn't think it did. Until the morning I woke up, I'd fallen asleep against the canoe, and there was a trail of blood around the canoe in our tent. And when she woke up, she got really good pancakes with blueberries in them. She also got some French toast, she got some sausages, and she got some cowboy coffee. And boy, did she ever eat that in the canoe. And then we left, and I've never been back to that island since. Hey, Eric. Something I gotta tell you. I read what you did in the paper. Yeah, I made it to the paper, man. So, what did he say to you? And that's why you punched him. So, I'm just saying, like, there's only a few times when I've heard that somebody has punched a police horse in the face. I don't think it's cool. I don't think it's cool. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Yes, I know it. Yes, 500. Yes, there's a cop there. I get it. I know you're not a good You're not a good puncher. I get it. It was a slap. He was working. What do you mean you're friends now? On Facebook? The police horse Facebooked you? It apologized to you? Huh, I never saw that coming. I know, right? So do you guys like brunch or what? What's his name? Captain Lavender? That's the best face horse name I've ever heard. No, it's a face horse. If it's a horse on Facebook. Okay, he's a police horse still. I didn't want to... I'm not trying to undermine what he does. I get it. Okay. He didn't try to get that job. He was forced. It's what you do, man. You're a horse. There's 3 things you can do. You can be a racehorse. You can be a show horse. Or you can be a police horse. One question, though, Eric, and this is the important part. He doesn't have fingers. When I was 15, I saw the weirdest thing I think I ever saw, and it has ingrained itself in my mind. I was outside this small little building. My parents owned a hybrid store slash house. Our house is on the back. And I saw this guy on a motorbike. He was doing a papa wheelie, as we called him. Papa wheelie. And then a car hit him. And he wasn't wearing a helmet. He wasn't wearing any type of protection. But he flew off the motorcycle and flung upside down and actually landed on his feet. I poop you not. And he just sort of looked around, and he looked at me, and he looked at the kid looking at him who was up on his porch with his mouth agape, and he looked at the guy in the car as he stood at the car, and the bike was totaled. The bike was like a wreck. And he just sort of like looked around, and it was like, man, I wish that there was like 20 years in the future where they had some sort of YouTube where someone would have filmed that. And then I would be the Greek god of Papa Wheelies. He didn't say that because he's not from the future. He didn't travel back into the past and then try to create the future. But I'm just saying, it was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. And now a reading from Angelique in Bobigny. This may get a little hot, so if there's children's watching this, don't let them. Because the descriptions, and I went over this for science several times, and my gosh, does it work in alliterative sense. Not alliterative, like an alliteration, like when things start with a, no, like an alliterative, like literally. Angelique was something I didn't expect to read. I tried to find something nice, but I can't, because it was written in 1974. And, well, back then, there was a lot of, like, really nasty things written about women. So, instead of doing this, I decided to talk about my dreams. So, Angelique and Bobigny. The first dream I ever remember having was there was a man and you could see through him. And in his belly button was my favorite Hot Wheels toy. It was like a red racer. And it was in his belly button. And I remember seeing it behind his belly button. I don't know how old it was. I don't even remember it was my first dream, but I think I was 3 or 4. And he held over his head one of my classmates. Yes, this is weird, but it's a dream. And everybody has these dreams. Okay? I'm not putting weird images in your head. They're already there. And I'm just having to acknowledge mine. And right before he threw her, I woke up. Second dream, I was 18. I started taking Prozac. So I'm 40, I'll be 45 in a bit. So back when Prozac was brand new, I started taking it. One of the side effects was severe nightmares. I remember one night waking up to my room breathing. It was just like a lucid dream. The walls were coming in on me. And in the corner of my room, I saw a man in a clown mask. And I'm not afraid of clowns. I can watch the crap out of it. It's scary, but I can watch the crap out of it. But he started looking at me. And he was in the corner of my room, and I remember turning after the walls stopped breathing, and we made eye contact. And his head started to move back and forth really fast. Sort of like when you look at a helicopter blade, and it starts to go, and he just moved back and forth. And then I felt lips on my ear telling me that, Trent, we could totally kill you right now. But then where would we hide the body? And then I woke up. Third dream. I don't have a good relationship with my parents. I had a dream one night that my father had died, my adoptive father. I'm adopted. And I was at his funeral, and my mother, my adoptive mother, was telling me a story about him from the podium, as you do in a eulogy. And I felt an immense just sadness come over me in my dream, and I was sobbing openly in my dream. And my mother was telling me things about how much he loved me and how much he cared for me. And then I woke up, but here's the rub. I woke up and mourned my father, but then realized that it was a dream, and also realized I'll probably never see him again. So I mourned him twice within the passage of 2 minutes. But then my daughter, my 3-year-old daughter, came down and she hugged me. And that's something that I can't even dream about because it was just so beautiful. As you can tell, I have a thing with dreams. The fourth dream I'm going to tell you about was people were breaking into my house. Now this obviously was a dream because people weren't breaking into my house, but in my head people were breaking into my house, and I ran down to my kitchen. We got big bay windows and I saw a car drive up. There's not even a driveway there, but I saw a car drive up with 2 guys get out of the car, and I remember thinking, it's a dream, but there's people coming into the house, so I gotta go upstairs and warn my wife and my kids that people are breaking into the house. So I ran upstairs and everybody was sleeping, and I said, everybody, there's people breaking into the house. And in my dream, I woke up in my dream, and I thought, oh my gosh, there's a dream. I'm dreaming, but people are breaking into the house. So I ran downstairs, and people were pulling up in front of the house again. I was like, aha, I know what to do this time. So in this dream, I ran back upstairs, and I wrote it on the wall, honey, there's people breaking into the house. And then I woke up again, but this time I said, honey, did you see the note that I wrote on the wall? And on the wall it said people are breaking into the house. And I ran downstairs, and there was 2 people standing in my kitchen. I said, I knew it. And then I ran in behind myself, and I said, did you put the thing on the wall? And I said, yes, I did. And then I woke up. Another dream that I had that I can never forget, and I don't remember when it happened, but the image will always stay with me. And this image isn't a new image, and I don't know why it's in my head. But I was in the water, and I was sinking. And as I broke below the surface, because I'd fallen off a bridge, I realized that people under the water had been chained to the bottom, and they were all floating. But they weren't dead, they were just floating there, looking at me, sinking. And as I sank, I stopped being scared. And as I looked at them, they weren't scaring me. And I just landed and sat on the bottom of this lake, ocean, sea. And I felt calm. And I felt wonderful. And I didn't breathe the water, I just stopped breathing. And I looked up at them, and they just sort of went with the water and the waves and the kelp. And the fish went around them. And as the fish went around them, they just ignored them. They had become part of the water. They'd become part of the ecology of that water. Was I scared? No. I should have been, but I wasn't. And then I woke up. Then I had a dream. I taught Jason Kenney to dance, and then I realized, yeah, that's obviously a dream. He can't dance. Have you seen that video? Oh, you can dance. I've seen you. Everybody, thank you for watching our show tonight. I would like to thank everybody. I would like to thank you at home. I would like to thank the Yardbird Suite. I would like to thank Jacob. Jacob, if you could just clap. Jacob, could you do me a favor and just scream, "I'm the best"?
That was it.
That's it?
Yeah.
That's how he talks? Well, I can't. That's great. I like the way you clap, Jacob. Jacob, thank you so much for welcoming us in here. You were such a great sport. Eric, you're a great sport. I would like to thank, again, Nico Arnez, Stephanie Urquhart, and Peter Zawalski for having us tonight. I'm Trent Wilkie. That's Eric Weedham. We are virtually shaking hands. I wish you all the best and more. Stay positive, stay clean, and if you have people around you that you love, tell them that you love them. Good night, everybody.